My name is Charlotte. I'm currently 23 living with my family while looking for a job. Today, my mother seems a little on edge as my older brother Henry is bringing his girlfriend home. She's been restless all day, cleaning every corner of the house. Now it's also making me a bit anxious. We lost our father when we were young, so it's just been us and our mother. Whenever she smiles at my father's picture on the mantelpiece, it makes me feel warm inside. I wonder what she's like. Apparently, she's a very sweet girl. Just then, the doorbell rang. My mother goes to greet them, and Henry and his girlfriend entered our house. Henry's girlfriend is a striking beauty, and he introduces her, blushing slightly. Nice to meet you. I'm Emmy. Our mother is visibly excited about Henry bringing such a beautiful woman home. We all sit down and start making small talk over tea. What do you do, Charlotte? At the moment, nothing. I'm job hunting. For a moment, I felt as if Emmy glared at me for a split second. When my mother left her seat to refill our teacups and Henry went to the restroom, we were left alone. I sensed Emmy scan me from my head to toe, like she was measuring my worth. Feeling the tense atmosphere, I thought of lightening the mood with a different topic. I heard you've never worked before. Is that true? Don't you feel embarrassed to be living off your mother at 23? Are you not planning to work? How do you even support yourself now? She bombarded me with questions before I could even change the subject. Seems like her sharp gaze that I sensed earlier wasn't just my imagination. She must be worried about me being jobless. She's considering getting married to my brother, so her being worried isn't out of the ordinary, I guess. I do plan to work. Plan to? Do you think you can get a job that easily? You don't look like someone who can easily land a job. And will you continue living here even after you start working? What are you two talking about? Just some girls talk. The moment Henry returns, Emmy blatantly changes her attitude. I suppose it could be seen as a typical conversation between women. She glares at me threateningly, gripping my brother's arm. It's clear we won't get along, and I guess she's not interested in getting along with me either. I started cleaning up with my mother after the two of them left. She's a cheerful girl, wasn't she? Yeah. I can't believe that Henry's getting married to a girl as beautiful and as sweet as her. Yeah. Seeing my mother happy, I couldn't bring myself to tell her about Emmy's behavior when we were alone. I'm not sure if she treated me like that because she didn't like me, or if that's just how she is. Is it because I'm not as attractive as her? Should I talk to Henry about this? But I don't want to cause a rift between them because of me. Maybe I'm just overthinking. We still don't know each other well, and things might change once I start working. The reason I'm not working is because I've been taking care of my grandmother. After earning my nursing certification from a vocational school, I decided to take care of my grandmother instead of working. Being raised by a single mother, my relatives and grandmother always took good care of us. I wasn't upset about having to take care of my grandmother after graduation. In fact, I always wanted to look after her. Everyone was supportive and appreciative, and it wasn't just on me. My grandmother passed away a few months ago. After sorting out my grandparents' paperwork and getting my driver's license, I began job hunting. Fortunately, I found a job quickly. Then I got a message from Henry saying, I'm planning to marry Emmy in 6 months. I hadn't spoken to Emmy since their visit, and the thought of having to deal with her in the future was daunting. My mother attended a meeting between both families and returned with a smile saying her parents were nice and it was a pleasant meeting. Henry is busy with work, so they'll register their marriage first, but they plan to hold the wedding ceremony in 6 months. The awkwardness between Emmy and I remained, but Henry's marriage was still a great news to me. My mother and I went shopping and bought matching dishware as a gift. The wedding day approached. I received a text from Henry. Emmy wanted to hang out with me, just the two of us, and asked when I was available. Although I wanted to refuse, I also wanted to improve my relationship with Emmy, so I told him when I was off and agreed to have her over. I would have preferred a day when my mother was also free, but unfortunately we didn't have any day off together for the next couple of weeks. When I told my mother about it, she went out and bought my favorite food for me to have with Emmy. I convinced myself that Emmy was trying to motivate me to get a job since I was unemployed at the time. Then the day arrived. I saw my mother off to work and waited for Emmy. When the doorbell rang, I opened the door to find Emmy standing there with a sour look on her face. Hey, come in. As I opened the door for her to enter, she let out a big sigh. You bought a car, right? Henry told me. Can't you be considerate and come to pick me up? You're a grown woman now. You should know to be considerate. Also, the dishes you sent really have bad taste. I realized that she was referring to the gift I sent for getting their marriage certificate. I reaffirmed that she didn't like me and I didn't feel comfortable with her. Why did Emmy want to meet me in the first place? Emmy looked around the house, looking curious. What exactly are you here for? I thought we should have a talk. You seem slow, so I figured I should just tell you up front. A talk? I need to know when you're moving out. You started working, right? How about living on your own? You've had enough time being pampered. It's time to stand on your own 2 feet. The condescending tone was irritating, but I suppressed my anger. It's none of your business, isn't it? You're so dense. I married your brother. I know a say in this household. I want to raise our child here. It's convenient here, and there are many places around to shop within walking distance. But I absolutely do not want to live with you. I fear living with you might turn me dull and gloomy. This house will eventually belong to your brother, so could you leave as soon as possible? Did Henry say he wanted to live together in this house? I can't imagine him wanting that. Even if he doesn't want it, if I ask, your brother will do it for me. She was incredibly selfish and self-centered. I was shocked. The thought of having to deal with her from now on gave me a headache. I don't understand why Henry chose someone like you. Does he know this side of you? Sounds like you're jealous of me. Your brother, you see, is head over heels for me. He listens to whatever I say. Your mother, although plain, seems obedient, and we need someone to do the housework. I finally snagged a man with a good income. It puzzled me why only I had to leave, but it seemed like Emmy wanted to keep my mother as a housemaid. Emmy's way of speaking was infuriating. I'm usually not the type to get mad quickly, so I didn't know how to express my anger. Hey, what's this? This bag is of that high-end brand. She picked up my bag that I had left in a corner of the living room. Please don't touch it. It's not something a jobless person should be carrying around. She began to rummage through my bag. Hey, stop that. This watch looks pretty expensive. It'll probably suit me better. She caught sight of a watch in my bag and picked it up. Give it back. That was a gift from my grandmother. I forcefully took back both my bag and the watch that Emmy was admiring. I knew it. We can't be friends. Please leave. Sure thing. Instead of causing more trouble, she quickly left with a smirk on her face. Still, why do I have to be treated like this? I cried alone, wondering what I had done to deserve this. That night, my brother and mother returned home. They brought Emmy with them. Charlotte, what were you thinking? Emmy told us you started a fight and treated her like a wicked stepsister. Emmy said that the moment she tried to pick up the bag you dropped, you shoved her away. My brother shouted in anger, and my mother scolded me. I didn't even touch her. I just took back my bag. She was the one being mean. I did my best to get along with her. I stood my ground, but... It's my fault. It seems Charlotte doesn't like me. I'm often disliked by girls my age. I guess Charlotte feels the same about me. She's upset because she feels like I've stolen her brother, right? It's my fault for not being considerate of her feelings. I was mad at Emmy, but she was crying next to me. I was clearly the bad guy here. Apologize to Emmy, Charlotte. Even if there was a misunderstanding, you should apologize first. Even while pretending to cry, she was staring at me with her big, black eyes. It seemed like she was making a face that said, "In your face." I felt unheard and lonely, with neither my brother nor my mother listening to my side of the story. They both urged me to apologize. You guys really think I'm the type to pick on Emmy? I see. You guys won't believe me at all. They wouldn't hear me out at all. If I truly despised you, I wouldn't have sent you guys any gift at all. Anger and sadness mixed within me, and clutching only my purse, I dashed out of the house. Since my aunt's house was close by, I ran into her place with tears running down. What happened, Charlotte? Why are you crying so much? What's going on? My aunt let me into her house, rubbing my back as she listened to what I had to say. Oh my, she sounds like the epitome of a nasty woman. Even my mother and brother, they don't believe me. If I go back, Emmy will be there. I don't want to go home anymore. They must have been convinced by her. If you don't want to go home, you can stay here. I'm just by myself here anyway. Do you believe me, Auntie? Of course, you're always kind and considerate of others. You would never say or do things to hurt others. As I was talking with my aunt, my phone began to vibrate. It was a call from an unsaved number. I had a bad feeling about it and was hesitant to answer, but my aunt said, "It might be that woman. Why don't you try answering it?" So I nodded, put the call on speaker so my aunt could hear, and picked up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Probably she got my number from Henry when she said she'd come to visit. I wasn't up for it, but decided to speak anyway.
Where are you?
My aunt put her index finger to her lips, signaling me to keep quiet. At a hotel, I responded with the bare minimum.
Well, do you get it now? No one believes you. Even your mother believes me. I'm so lucky to have such a kind mother-in-law. Since then, they've both been comforting me. They were so angry with you, saying what a terrible person you are.
The revelation of Emmy's true nature triggered my aunt, her eyes wide with delight. I was upset about the fact that my mother and brother didn't believe me, but seeing my aunt react this way made me want to expose more of Emmy's true side. That's fine. There's no denying that I'm two-faced. Admitting my own faults made me feel less guilty and ready to fight back. Having my aunt right next to me mentally helped me great. Emmy, you mentioned you wanted to live in that house, right? Did you know that the house is actually under my name? It was originally my grandmother's, but I inherited it. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to live in my childhood home for the rest of my life.
What? Stop lying. I've never heard anything about this.
I had no reason to tell you. You can ask my brother if you want. Emmy hung up on me after I said that. Well, that's interesting. Women like her are careful about who to pick on. She knows how to act in front of your brother and mother. So my brother really doesn't know her true nature, huh? He wouldn't have chosen her if he did. But she seems to be careless. She'll slip up sooner or later. If I step in, I might worsen your situation, so let's just see how things go for a while. After discussing with my mother, I decided to live with my aunt for a while. Some time had passed since Emmy's outburst and she called me again.
So it seems like the house really is under your name. I don't get it. Does this mean that Henry received the inheritance money? I haven't heard any of this.
I have no reason to tell you because it has nothing to do with you. By the way, my brother hasn't inherited anything. I plan to get married to my current boyfriend and live in my childhood home. It's located in a good neighborhood, great for raising kids, and has everything within walking distance.
You have a boyfriend? I'm surprised. That house doesn't suit you. From the moment I saw you, I've been bothered by you. You're really getting in my way. In fact, I hate you.
This is the first time we've agreed on something. I absolutely despise you two.
Don't you dare show your face at my wedding. Even if you do come, I'll make things even worse for you. I'll tell Henry and your mother that you're not coming to the wedding. A sister who skips her brother's wedding. I'm looking forward to hearing all sorts of things about you at the ceremony.
God knows what she'll do if I said I'd attend the ceremony. I was starting to feel like I could care less about the whole thing. I answered with a sigh. Fine, as you wish. I won't attend your wedding. Do as you please. I hung up the phone. And I was hit with a wave of exhaustion. Don't worry, love. My aunt scooted to my side right before I knew it. She seemed to have been watching the whole time. Were you told not to come to the wedding? Yeah, but I can't just accept that, right? No, let's respect the bride's wishes. Leave it to me. It's probably best not to look at any text from your mother or brother for a while, especially on the wedding day. She gave a warm smile. On the day of the wedding, I received incessant calls from my mother and brother, but I didn't even look at their texts. I figured they must be criticizing me, fueled by Emmy's words, blaming me for not attending the wedding, so I turned off my phone. I'm home. Huh? Aunt, aren't you supposed to be at the wedding? She returned home in her casual clothes. She definitely didn't look like someone who had just come from a wedding. With you not attending, there's no way I could. Our whole family decided to decline the invitation to their wedding. While I was listening to my aunt's story, the doorbell unexpectedly rang. I went to the front door and saw my mother. She was dressed in a formal gown. Charlotte, I was wrong. I'm sorry. My mother apologized to me with a tired look on her face. When my aunt invited my mother inside, my aunt excitedly asked about the wedding. It seemed like Emmy knew the entire family from my brother's side would be absent, but she kept it a secret from my brother and my mother. My brother and my mother apparently had no idea that their entire family would be absent until today. They were astonished when they arrived at the venue. It looked like Emmy was using this as an excuse to sever her relationship with our family, but since it was a wedding, many guests were friends and people from work, and there were quite a few eyebrows raised at the fact that my mother was the only person attending from the groom's side. The ceremony went on amidst the unusual atmosphere. In the midst of this, Emmy, who was supposed to be receiving all the love and blessings, couldn't bear being whispered about on her big day and got into a fight with my brother. Having heard Emmy's incoherent slander about me, my mother seemed to have understood that I was telling the truth. The wedding ended with the atmosphere at its worst. While my aunt was explaining the situation to my mother, a call came in from Emmy. I put the call on speaker.
What the hell is going on?
The moment I picked up the phone, Emmy's loud voice pierced my ears. What's the matter, Emmy? Why are you shouting?
You orchestrated this, didn't you? You wicked bastard. You ruined my wedding.
I didn't do anything. You're the one who said that I was a nuisance and that I shouldn't come to the wedding, right? I just consulted with my aunt about it. Both of my parents' families have been around each other for long, and all of our relatives get along very well. Didn't you know that? This time, my aunt had spread the news to all our relatives. Many of the relatives were very fond of me, as I used to take care of my grandmother. They didn't want to attend the wedding of a bride who tried to belittle me, so it seems they all decided to not show up to the wedding.
What the hell? This is too unacceptable. I'm going to make you pay for this.
Why should I? You're the one who treated me like a nuisance.
You were not working and staying at home, yet you were thanked and loved by everyone around you. You're nothing more than a basic chick who puts in no effort to stay well-dressed, yet you own things like branded bags and expensive watches, and they don't even suit you at all. Now, the least you can do is cooperate with me a little bit.
Didn't you hear that I was not working due to some circumstances? I don't want to be around someone with an attitude like yours.
I don't care about what you have going on. You're always living your best life. It's not fair.
Emmy, is what you just said true?
Henry, why are you here?
Emmy, my sister-in-law, was flustered by the sudden sound of my brother's voice. Mid-conversation, Henry had come to visit our aunt's house and had been silently listening to our conversation. Is that how you've been feeling this whole time? What you said about Charlotte was all lies, wasn't it?
No, it's not like that.
Henry pulled out a watch from his pocket. It belonged to me. That's Grandma's watch. Why do you have it, Henry? It was in our house. I never lent it to Emmy. I nodded in agreement. Since I was staying at my aunt's house, I probably hadn't noticed that the watch was missing. When Emmy noticed the watch, she seemed to be perplexed, but I didn't expect her to have stolen it.
I'm sorry, Henry. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was jealous of Charlotte. I'm truly sorry.
Emma apologized to Henry. Emmy, could you also apologize to me for telling me to leave my parents' house, for trying to turn my mother into a housekeeper, for talking smack about me behind my back to my mother and brother, for stealing, and for treating me as if I'm unworthy of respect? Please apologize for all of it. Emmy, it seemed, was too prideful to apologize to me, so she ended the call with a scream. My brother and mother apologized to me. They apologized for not believing me. They both seemed to have received cold stares at the wedding, and having them apologize to me made me feel much better. After that, Emmy was brought by her parents to apologize. Henry filed a divorce from her. She came crying to me while apologizing to me, but I firmly refused her. Henry's intention to divorce was firm, and their marriage, which had not even lasted a year, came to an end. Emmy was also found to have been stealing at work, which turned into a major issue, and she lost her job. I heard rumors that she got in trouble with the police, but I'm not sure it's true or not. As for me, my life's back to normal, and I occasionally visit my relatives. I bragged to Emmy that I had a boyfriend, but in reality, I have no love interest. And I'm now being pestered by my aunt about it.